Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ignacio Egaiz, and I work at NanoGap. On behalf of NanoGap, we are responsible for the dissemination and exploitation of Back to Fuel project, of the work package of dissemination and exploitation. That's the reason why we have organized this series of webinars in order to present what Back to Fuel is about, and overall, what are the tasks we have to fulfill until the end of the project and beyond. Okay. Now I will share my screen in order you to see a little bit. I will summarize in a couple of minutes what Back to Fuel is about, and then I will give the floor to QingQing. She will explain a little bit the role within Back to Fuel. Okay. Back to Fuel is the nomenclature of bacterial conversion of CO2 and renewable hydrogen into biofuels. It's an European project which aims is to be able to demonstrate at TRL5 the possibility to produce biofuels, ethanol, butanol, and ethanol from water, sunlight, and CO2, among others. As we can see here, there are several disciplines that are linked together in order to be able to demonstrate the possibility to transform CO2 and water into alcohols. Okay. As I said before, there are two methodologies that are coupled within Back to Fuel. The first one is a photocatalytic process where we use the energy from sunlight in order to to do the reaction of water splitting by the use of a catalyst and the energy from the sunlight. Within this catalyst, we can enhance the efficiency of these catalysts by adding atomic quantum clusters, and these clusters will help the reaction to go faster and better in order to produce hydrogen. Okay. This hydrogen will feed the second methodology plus the CO2. This CO2 and the hydrogen will feed a bacteria that will be modified by CRISPR-Cas in order to get more selectivity towards a selected product. Okay. In this case, we are analyzing several alcohols, so we are modifying by CRISPR-Cas and other tools the possibility to modify the bacteria, the DNA, the genetic of the RNA and DNA, the genetic of the bacteria, in order to promote and enhance the production of something special. Okay, and as we have seen here, well, this is the consortium. This is the group of people that we are working within Back to Fuel. The University of Santiago de Compostela and Lancaster University are responsible for AQC's modeling and with NanoGap the production of these atomic quantum clusters and the characterization of these clusters in order to be used in a photocatalytic reaction. Wageningen is the responsible for all related to the bacteria, modification engineering, genetic editing, and the Technical University of Berlin is responsible for coupling the biochemical reaction and the photocatalytic reaction. The biochemical reaction is handled, the responsible is Vito from Belgium, and they are working on two possible methodologies. One of them is a bioelectrochemical system, and the other one is a fermentation process using the bacteria we have seen before. We have talked before. As we have seen, we cover several disciplines: nanotechnology, biotechnology, and chemical engineering and economy, in order to produce something something with a high value product to be used in the transport sector. That's the reason why we have organized 6 webinars in order to explain what we are doing in the field of nanotechnology, in the field of biotechnology, in the field of chemical engineering, how to couple everything, and in the field of economy. For sure, this project aims to reach higher TRL. So our aim is to demonstrate at TRL5, but we try to reach higher TRL in the short-term future. Okay. And now, as I said, we are going to start with our colleague QingQing, that she will explain in detail a little bit how can we model in these atomic quantum clusters. The atomic quantum clusters is a group of atoms with a different geometry that could provide extraordinary properties, and she will explain in detail how to do it and how can we transform it. So the floor is yours, QingQing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, am I sharing?
Yes, yes, you are sharing.
Good morning, everyone. I'm QingQing and I work with Colin Lambert. And today I'm going to give the talk, Theoretical Modeling of the Atomic Quantum Clusters. Before going to the science, please allow me introduce myself first. So I was born in the small village which lies in the middle and east of China. Recently, I took the flight from Lancaster to Shanghai. At the moment, I'm quarantined here. The quarantine time is 2 weeks. Later, I will return to my hometown, and there I will have my wedding. So after that, I will return to Lancaster. So Lancaster is located in the middle of the UK. Lancaster University lies in the town of Lancaster, and which is close to the natural beauty, Morecambe Bay and Lake District. I work in the physics department, and here there is a lab which is the coldest place in the universe. The temperature could reach 10 to minus 6 Kelvin. It is even lower than the deeper space. And here there is also a lab which is ultra low noise lab. Here it is used for some molecular electronics experiments, and also some properties of the AQCs are measured there. So Lancaster University also has the high-end computing service which supports the computational research. This is a picture for the head cluster. The head cluster possesses around 9,000 cores totally and 40 terabytes memory. So those red pipes carry waters, which is the water cooling system for the clusters, because the cluster generates large amounts of heat. And in the HEC, there are specialist research softwares, and most of my work, which needs large amounts of memory, are carried in the HEC. So now let's move to the project. Here's a cartoon, shows the whole process. In the presence of the sunlight, those AQCs could absorb these photons and use the water to generate the hydrogen, and the hydrogen can be used as the fuel directly, and also can even further be used to produce these biofuels with this carbon dioxide. The important part is how to improve the efficiency for the photo absorption. So this is part of my modeling, and I will study the effect of the shapes of the cluster and also the ingredients from the ambient environment and the substrate, and finally can tune the electronic properties of those clusters to achieve the high efficiency purpose. And the Q here in AQC stands for the quantum, and in those AQ clusters, the quantum effects could be observed. So for the big nanoparticles, the energy levels are continuous. And when decrease the size of the clusters, can find its energy levels are discrete, they are quantized. This is the effect of the quantum. But those clusters need the organic ligands to separate them because they can stick together, and decrease the size further to some several angstroms, and then the energy gap are bigger. So the HOMO is the highest occupied molecular orbital, and the LUMO stands for the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. This energy gap determines the frequency of the photon which could be absorbed in the sunlight. So in this picture, it shows the solar spectrum. So the energy range is between 0.5 and around 3 point something. And this peak stands for the visible light. So for the material, if the energy gaps can match or in this range of the solar spectrum, that means it probably can have high efficiency for the photo absorption. We focus on those copper-5 clusters because our collaborator in Spain could synthesize this cluster. We investigate the effect of these shapes. We find in the vacuum, this trapezoid one is more stable and the bipyramidal one is a metastable state, but they both have a large HOMO-LUMO gap. So that means they cannot have high efficiency for this photo absorption. Further, we investigate the ingredients from the environment, the water and the oxygen. And in experiments, the clusters need the substrate to immobilize them. For those semiconductor substrates, they all have big band gap, which are most on the edge of this solar spectrum. So separately, for those clusters or the semiconductor substrates, both have the large gap, band gap. So if you put them together, some gap states can be created in the gap, and then the smaller band gap will match with this solar spectrum, and then can collect the solar energy. So in the following slides, I will introduce or present the results from the oxygen and also water molecule and the substrate. And we find the different position of the absorption of the oxygen can affect the binding energy. So for this one, it is a stable one, and here it is a metastable state. For the second oxygen absorption, the absorption energy decrease and then decrease further, and the smaller and smaller. Finally, we find this copper-5 cluster can absorb 6 oxygen dimers. We also look at the charge distribution. So for the copper, it will lose the electron, become positive, and the oxygen dimer will gain electron, become negative. And the different colors means the inhomogeneous charge distributions for those clusters. And if you put the cluster on the substrate, you will find in this big band gap, their excess energy levels or the density of states appear. They are due to the copper atoms. So the smaller or decreased band gap will match very well with this solar spectrum. This can improve the photo absorption efficiency. Another important feature is we find the copper-5 will lose 1 electron and donate it to the substrate. So then there is the electron hole pair, which are active, can be involved in the water splitting and the reduction of the hydrogen. This slide shows the effect of the water. We find the first few water will bond to the copper-5, and then the excess water will bond to the water and also the oxygen by the hydrogen bonds. And finally, they will form the water shells and then become AQC snowballs. So far, I introduced the electronic structures for the cluster and the effect from the environment, the oxygen, the water, and the substrates. Another part of the modeling is about the chemical reaction. So from the reactant to the product, it cannot happen spontaneously. They need to overcome a barrier, energy barrier. It's a bit like thinking, what's the easiest way? It's the easiest way to climb a mountain. So that means I need to find a minimum energy path or a smaller energy barrier. So here is an example, shows the dissociation of the oxygen dimer. For the reactant is a molecular oxygen adsorption cluster, and the final state is a split one. And the minimum reaction parts is like this. And the barrier is around 0.7 eV. So that means in a reasonable time scale, the molecular oxygen can split to a oxygen atom, oxygen radical. For the water splitting on pristine rutile titanium, we find the barrier is around 0.14. Here is a transition state. And this reaction is an endothermic reaction because the final state is a bit higher for the total energy compared to this initial state. And the water will not affect the energy levels or the density or states for the substrate. In the presence of the AQCs, we also investigated the different positions, effects, and also for the hydrogen diffusion or the recombination or the hydrogen desorption ongoing calculations. So I will stop my talk today now. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, QingQing. Now keep the control over the screen, because we are gonna open now the questions. If someone has any question, please unmute or ask anything by the chat. If not, in the meantime, I have question by myself. Well, you say that in the vacuum, the trapezoidal copper 5 is more stable, as you mentioned. No?
Yes.
Which shape is more stable in the ambient environment?
Yeah. So we find the oxygen can stabilize the cluster, the 3D clusters. Actually, when the oxygen increases to 3, the 3D one is more stable compared to the trapezoidal one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So. Okay. Well, here we have a question from Sam Jarvis. QingQing, do you see the chat? Hi, QingQing, very interesting talk. Do you know if it is possible for the water to display the oxygen during the water splitting interaction? You have to go to Zoom. The question is, do you know if it is possible for the water to displace the oxygen during the water splitting interaction?
Yeah, I think it is possible for the adsorption, the water adsorption and the oxygen adsorption. Yeah, it's possible. In my calculation, I can find you see the oxygen here, the oxygen dimer adsorbs the copper like this, and then with the extra water molecule, you see this one, you try to be displaced.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyone? Let me see. There are no more questions from the chat. I have another one. QingQing, are the gap states states very different on the different substrates.
Yes, we find the different substrate really affect the gap states. Even for the titanium one, different phase, even for the rutile one, the annotate one will affect a lot. See, for the annotate one, for example, the 3D sub 3D the clusters, there are more gap states, but the rutile one, there are fewer.
Okay, well, that's interesting because, well,
Yeah.
well, I have from the chat, Professor Colin Lambert, when the oxygen splits, does the charge on the oxygen change?
Yes. For the split one, it will gain more electrons compared to the molecular one.
Well, let me see if there are more questions from the audience. If not, I have a last one, the more difficult one, Chin Chin. And well, possible applications. Other possible applications. Do you know if there are other possible applications? Do you think that these AQCs could have?
Yes, because these clusters just behave like a molecule, and they have the separate energy levels, and that means they will have the high spec coefficient, and also for the clusters, metal clusters, they will have high electrical conductance. That means the thermoelectric properties will be high. So I think they will be the potential thermoelectric materials.
Like for electronics, for any device, or just to any example that you think could be affordable? Because I know that the application, we are going to smaller devices, smaller materials. So no, what do you think, which one could be?
Yeah, so then if this can be used to the thermoelectric device, and then it can convert the waste heat to the electricity, similar to our project here, to convert the solar energy to the biofuels and chemical energy like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we wait for a little bit if there are any other questions. In the meantime, congratulations for your wedding. I forgot to mention. Well, I hope everything goes well there. And when are you planning to come back to Lancaster?
I think the January, the next month.
Okay. Okay. So I think if there is no more questions, we can finish now the meeting. Thank you very much, Chin Chin, for your extraordinary presentation. I hope that now the people could know more about back to fuel in your field, in your methodology, and in your discipline. And well, I hope to see you in the next webinar of today, and in the next ones that will be held during the week. Okay.
Will
and
you
the
announce
next,
the details? Yeah.
yeah, if you have any questions or you wanna ask anything, please just contact us to our website, or if not, I will send you my email is written on the chat right now. Okay, and anything you need to ask, I can forward to the responsible of every work package. Okay, from Professor Colin or to Chin Chin. Okay, So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. QingQing, thank you. Happy Christmas, and thank you, Colin, and thank you all.